Children living in this country's foster care system, an impermanent familial situation that can last from a month to years. This impermanence can influence a child's behavior and emotional state, particularly if the child is older and has been in the system for a while. They say foster children are good children in a bad situation. Our first guest is Keri Vellis, an author and foster adoptive mother. We want to thank you for being here. You came all the way from California's Bay Area, so we're quite delighted to have you in our studio. And I want to get to know you a little bit more and your experience as a foster parent. So when did you first become a foster mother?
So about 5.5 years ago, my husband and I got licensed and started taking kids in.
And that's something that I never knew, that you had to be licensed to become a foster parent. So there are some things that you need to go through a process.
Oh, for sure. You have to do a background, fingerprinting. They come out, check out your house, make sure it's safe. So there's a whole rigmarole.
Yeah, sure. Well, and so 5.5 years ago, who was your first child that you fostered?
Well, we took in a sibling set, and it ended up being a horrific case, and where the kids were very, very abused, and it was a pretty intense situation.
How old were they?
They were 2 and 4.
They were quite young. And how long did they live with you, and did you adopt them?
We ended up adopting them.
You did?
We did.
Oh, that's wonderful. And how many children have you fostered?
So I think we're up to 17.
17. Now they all don't live under your roof right now, right?
Right.
Okay.
So we have 3 biological, and then we've adopted 3.
Oh, okay.
So we have 6, sometimes 7.
And we were talking about earlier the fires that had ravaged California, Northern California, and there was a situation where they called you, the child services called you and said that, could you take in this baby?
Exactly. The day of the fires, they started on a Sunday, and that Monday morning I got a phone call, and it was my little one's old social worker, and I thought, oh, how sweet. She's calling, to check in, see how we're doing. And she said, can you take in a baby? Her house just burned. And, my husband's a first responder. He left, and I was kind of panicked. I was like, there's a fire all around us. Right. And I said, sure, of course. And went and picked her up, and it was pretty, it was a lot. We were evacuating, going back to the house, because I was like, who's going to take in somebody with 4 dogs, 2 cats, 7 kids,
How do you do it all?
My dad was with us because he was evacuated.
Yeah.
So, it was intense, and she stayed with us for 2.5 months, and she was just adopted last week.
Oh,
her and a little brother. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. What is the process like? Now, this is an instance where there was an emergency situation, and they were hoping that you could at least house a child for a limited amount of time. What is the matching process for a foster parent and a foster child?
Oh, they don't match. They call you and say, hey, we have, a 4-year-old. Can you pick her up at the hospital in an hour? So you're there, and the drop of a hat, you're at the hospital because they get cleared first, and you pick them up.
And this has happened 17 times for you?
Yes.
Do you know how to say no?
Oh my gosh, it's hard. I've never said no. I'm on a break right now, but I've never said no. I'm always like, okay, how old are they? Because I'm thinking in my head, okay, I need to go get a car seat. I need to make sure, I have everything. Because when they leave, I give them everything. I give them the car seat. I give them all the clothes I've purchased. Everything goes.
And what are the challenges like?
Oh, in the very beginning, the kiddos are very, especially the babies, they're used to having their, in some cases, their attachment parental figure. So when they're removed, they cry a lot, they scream. The older kids, we've had a couple of older ones, they know a little bit more about what's going on. They see it. So they're a little bit easier, but you just want to be, I just try and tell them, I'm sorry, you're, this is happening to the older kids. We're going to, we're going to be here for you.
Right.
The little ones, depending on their age, I'll say, I'm helping out for a little bit, whomever, mom or dad, can't be with you right now, but you can stay with us. And they love it because we have 6 kids. So there's
they have
toys all over.
And there's friends to make and play with. And,
exactly. So they come to our house. Even when I'm at the hospital picking them up, I'll show them pictures on my phone. This is my son George. This is Matt. You know, Katie.
Kind of introduce them,
exactly,
say, so they know what to expect when they arrive.
Exactly. This is our, you know, our play structure, our pool. This is our house.
Well, I can't wait to find out more about your experience and also the books that you've written. So we do need to take a break, but we'll be back in 2 minutes.
Thank you.
We're back with Keri Vellis, an author and foster mother, and you've got some books that you've written about your experience. We were just talking about how you try to make an abnormal situation as normal as possible for the 17 foster children that you brought into your home. And another question I had, do you keep in touch with these children after they've left the nest, so to speak?
A lot of them I have. Actually, we just ran into, we had a 9-year-old last year, and we just ran into her. So that was great.
And how are they doing? Are
They're
they
doing
finding
good.
Permanent families? Or do they go back to their families in many cases?
Some, you know, have been adopted. Some have gone back with family. So we try. It's really important to all of our kids, you know, because it's their siblings when they're living with us. They're treated no different than our own children.
And that's what I was also wondering is, how do you adjust your parenting? Because once a parent, always a parent. So I know you want to provide guidance and to teach these children, but do you have to walk a fine line with them, or do you just do things, you know, as you normally would?
I try. They get a little bit more. You know, because I feel like I'm on a timer. Like I have to give them everything as fast as I can, because I don't know how long they're going to be with us.
Right, right.
You know, hold them a little bit longer, the older ones, you know, talk to, I always let them know I'm there for them if they want to talk about anything, if they have any questions.
And then you've kind of created a lasting message through these books. How many books have you written?
I've written 7. I've self-published these 2.
And so this one's called Sometimes, and this is When I Was Little. What is this your first one, Sometimes?
Yes.
And what is this one about?
You know, it's a story when a child's removed. Well, I was thinking, I was like, okay, when these kiddos come in, I want them to have something, to feel safe, to feel secure, to feel good about this situation they're in. So it's about a child that was removed, you know, their journey living in a new home. The new home, you know, might have a mom and a dad, 2 moms, 2 dads, a grandma. You know, you might feel scared, but the ultimate message is you'll always feel safe. And I wanted them to have that. So these guys get the books. I distribute them through my nonprofit all over the U.S.
I was going to ask, how do they access these books? Obviously, in your home, you're going to have them, and so you can say, well, if you'd like to read, how do you introduce it to the child? You
know, a lot of times where we live, the kiddos get duffel bags. And I've donated, or people have sponsored the books and put them in the bags. So when the kids go, you know, I've actually watched them go in their room, unzip the bag, and the book's on top. They've been donated. And I sit and watch them read and then smile, because it has such a, you know, a sweet message. And I've asked a couple of them, I'm like, do you like the book? And they're like, yes, it's so good.
Right.
So through donations, they're able to go in bags or be sponsored.
Do you have a degree in child development at all? Or?
Yeah, no, I don't. I actually went to school to be a preschool teacher and ended up switching gears and going into the dental field for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
But I feel like I'm a big kid myself, and I understand kids. I really understand. I actually go and I read these to kids in school and teach them about foster care and talk to them, and then talk to them about abuse as well.
Because you certainly come from a place of experience, obviously.
Yes.
And When I Was Little, what is this one about?
This is about a child that was abused, and talking about the abuse to a therapist, and then ultimately feeling better at the end. So it's a really sweet, appropriate message.
Have you written a book recently? Do you have one that's ready to be published?
You know, I just handed one off to my illustrator, who was in foster care herself.
Yeah.
About a little girl that has autism. So that'll be my next one. Hopefully by December that'll be out.
All right. Well, we're going to keep our eye on that. Thank you so much for all of your work, you and your husband. You have a wonderful family. Thank you so much. So if you need any of the information, it's on our website, foxcharleston.com. We're back after this.